I didn't want to get 5 years down the road and regret that I didn't say anything during this strained period of time, because there's a lot of things that are going on that are, I mean, just to be blunt, are completely ridiculous. We have 2 cases in the county. Um, Everybody in my little town down here, they're taking everything calmly, no hysteria, nobody's getting bent out of shape. You can't sit down in a restaurant, but they're open for takeout. A couple of the ones that I went to, they shut down. I don't know if they're coming back. Springfield's a different story. I went down there to Lowe's the other day, and it was pretty panicky. Um, a lot of just hysterical people. Plenty of people who weren't though, but it seemed like the level was kind of high out. Then last weekend I went over here to another Lowe's in the neighboring county, and business as usual. They made you go in the one door and go out the other, and the line was kind of long trying to get checked out, and everybody in there was kind of ho hum about this whole thing. And there's 0 cases over there in that county. And down there in Springfield, and there's 2 hospital systems, Cox and Mercy. My wife works at one of those systems. Uh, they laid off or furloughed or made people eat their paid time off for about the past 3 weeks now. So they got my wife down to like 2 days a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week. They've cut out all elective procedures. As of yesterday, they're going to start opening up more rooms to do elective surgeries again, and it looks like they're going to go from uh, hardly working to basically all hands on deck pretty quick. One thing I like to say about Missouri, they've been pretty level-headed about it. All the trails, parks that Missouri Department of Conservation have are open, and they have on their website want people to go out to these parks and get outside and jog and walk around and not stay at home. The city of Springfield, which is run by Democrats, is pretty adamant about locking people down, locking businesses down. And I tell you, it seems like the of more of the places that have liberal governments are the most overbearing, and very it's amazing how quickly these public servants become petty dictators, and looks like how they're trying to pretty much one up each other on the severity of their um, lockdowns. Which, hey, if you like that kind of a system and that's the way you vote, that's fine with me. But just remember, the places that were supposedly most liberal have been the most strict when it comes to all this enforcement. And the so-called conservative states or governors have been the most lenient. Our governor is a Republican. Like I say, I'm not either one. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. They're both just 2 sides of the same coin. I'm for who's ever for freedom and liberty. Um, that's why I've got this land and this farm, and that's why we practically do everything for ourselves. Um, it'd be nice to see some of the politicians who are uh, telling everybody to stay home and not have a job. It'd be nice to see some of them take a pay cut. You're not going to see that, so just think about that whenever you go to the polls, if that's what you deem important. You're not ever going to be completely safe, so if you're telling people they need to stay home, but you expect my wife to be down there for your C-section, you're a hypocrite. If you're telling people stay home, but you're going to the grocery store and you're expecting that the cashier girl will be there, the minimum wage shelf stocker, the grocery, the produce manager, you expect all those people to be there so that when you get there, you'll have food that you can buy for yourself, and you're telling people to stay home, you're a hypocrite. If you're telling people to stay home and you expect people like my uncle who drive a truck to deliver things to the store so that you can go there, and you expect those stores to be open, and you expect the people to be there so that you can go in it, you're a hypocrite. And I can't believe how many hypocrites there are out there these days. On the one hand, the government demands people stay home, and at the same time, they demand people go to work because they're essential. So the checkout girl at Kroger, she's essential. She makes, uh, who knows, $7 an hour. Um, you expect her to be there. You expect my wife to be down there, but they can't, their brothers and sisters can't ply their trade. The whole thing is one big contradiction. Instead of telling people to stay safe, you ought to lead by example. If if you're living your life any other way, the majority of the time, why is it important now to stay safe? Isn't staying safe common sense? You don't play in the middle of the road. It's not my duty to tell other people what to do. But if you are going to be out there telling people how they ought to live, you ought to at least lead by example. So if you're out there telling people to stay safe and you don't even have a garden in your backyard, how are you safe? I mean, food security is the number one thing concerned with safety there can be, that and water. So if you don't have any other means of acquiring water other than your faucet and you live in a city, the city can turn that off in a drop of a hat. They can bust a main, you're out of water. You don't have a way to use the bathroom. You're in sad shape. If you've got if you're dependent on the industrial food system, that the food be in the grocery store, and right now there's fixing to be food shortages because the slaughterhouses and the packing plants all up in the states that do that are being shut down because workers aren't showing up for work, and this is causing breaks in the chain when it comes to the food supply. So the cost of what's in the grocery stores is going up, and what's in there is in short supply. People aren't hoarding food. They were hoarding toilet paper. However, that's really not what hoard means. If those people, I imagine those people who bought all that toilet paper are probably using it. If they've got it 5 years from now, yeah, they've hoarded it. What happened was there was a run of what happened was there was a run on toilet paper for whatever insane reason. But shortages are something completely different. And with the price of oil going negative, it's not really the price, but the contract on oil going negative this past week, Tuesday, I think it was. Well, they're going to go in there and they're going to tell all those wells and rigs, adios, go home, we don't need you. We'll call you when we need you. So for the short run, the price of oil is going to go down, and you may see, well, I've already seen prices are dropping at the pump. However, when things open back up and there's more of a demand for it, then you're going to see the price of oil spike and price of gas go up. And once again, I think there's going to be shortages. Right now, we're at the stage where the Titanic just hit the iceberg. So people are aware that something happened, but they're not aware of the depth of the catastrophe. So even though a lot of people might go back to work pretty soon, I don't think we're going to know the true carnage that this idiotic lockdown has caused until 6 months, 1 year from now. And I fear that we're in a depression. People like us homesteaders are laughed at a lot for the things we do, but I don't think too many people are laughing anymore. You know, being out of debt, having no bills, having multiple ways to feed yourself, having multiple means of water, being able to treat your own waste, being able to take care of your own waste, not being dependent on any type of supply chain, having resiliency in multiple systems like permaculture teaches is a chain's only as strong as its weakest link, but a web, which is what we try to do out here in the world of permaculture, is when you create a web instead of a chain, you can take away 80% of those elements and it'll still function. As we've seen, you can take away one part of this linear system and it fails. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I also think a lot of people are so naive and short-sighted that they think, taking pictures of themselves with posting them on Instagram with some kind of meme that says "stay safe" is. I mean, if that's what you can conjure up that you think is a contribution, you're sad. You're in a sad state of affairs. If somebody has taken this time of being unemployed, partially employed, gone out there while it's still doable and created raised beds for a garden and started to gain some little bit of self-sufficiency, I applaud those people, but I don't see too much of that out there. It's probably out there, but all I really see is people sort of patting each other on the back for all being in this sinking ship. I've said for a long time, when they open up the economy, it won't be because the virus has disappeared. It'll be because the tax revenues have disappeared. And I can't believe the level of ignorance that I've seen out there. It's like these leaders don't seem to understand that their scheme is based on tax receipts, sales taxes, and like these VAT taxes, especially in Europe and Canada, all those are based on sales. You shut down all these jobs, all these businesses where you collect all your sales taxes. Guess what? You don't have any money. And so that's why you see a lot of these people beginning to crack, more or less. So we've got to open things up because they're going broke. I mean, plain and simple, they're going broke. they should they should themselves take pay cuts. Of course, they won't do it. They'll lay off the least. First they'll lay off the game and fish. People. They'll lay off the. Wait until the garbage starts stacking up in the cities. Wait until the police don't get paid. Pretty soon they're gonna have a mess on their hands, and like out here, there's just not a lot to do, and they don't have the forces out here to make people do these draconian measures. And one of the things that's been very evident is these European cities that are walking friendly, these places like New York where a lot of people don't have cars, and the neighborhoods are pedestrian friendly, and they're also easy to police. So out here in the hinterlands, the nearest grocery store I can get to, if I needed to go to a grocery store, which we don't, but the nearest one is like 10-15 miles away, or 10-15 minutes away. And I wouldn't shop at that grocery store anyway. If this quarantine were really legitimate, we could easily be here indefinitely. It's turkey season. There's turkeys all over the place. I don't really hunt birds. It's just not something I like to fish. But if need be, we could hunt turkey right now, and there are other birds in season too. We've got chickens, so we get like a dozen eggs a day, and they roam around. I don't really have to feed them. I keep feed, but they're fine. If I ran out of feed for the hogs, I could turn them out into the woods. They'd be fine. They're type of breed that does well on just on their own on the land. If push came to shove, we could shoot a deer out of season, but we've got deer in the freezer still. Try to support local. I think that's the number one thing you can do right now is go out and try to support local. I mean, guys, these people are really taking it on the chin. It's through no fault of their own. And anything you can do to make it, anything you can do to help your local is I think one of the best things you can do. So I won't tell everybody to stay safe. I'll tell everybody to do your best. Try to incorporate a garden. Use common sense, and don't and do your best not to despair. Hard times are on their way. There's no reason to sugarcoat it, and I'm not talking about health related things. I'm talking about economic related things. So the more food you can grow on your own, uh, the more resiliency you can incorporate, the more debt you can retire. Can you sell your car, buy a used car, not have any payments, reduce your insurance costs? All these things, it's going to give you resiliency, and that's going to be a real safety enhancement for your life, is to get rid of your debts. You can get rid of cable, do it. You don't need TV. Get out of debt. Just get out of debt. Once you get out of debt and you can feed yourself, then you're staying safe. Let me repeat that. Once you're out of debt and you can feed yourself, take care of your own waste stream, that's staying safe.